area that work really good with us. So, it's kind of a balance sometimes. But anyway, I appreciate your testimony.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Further questions for the witness? Seeing none, thank you. Remember your witness form. Further testimony in favor of Senate Bill 1086.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. My name is Willie Cade. I'm with the Repair Association. I've provided you written testimony, so I will just briefly point to page 2 halfway down where we talk about a moisture meter replacement, which is not an emissions issue, it's not a safety issue, that requires permission from John Deere corporate via a payload file to complete. The labor to change out that part was $100 by the independent service provider. In order to complete the repair with the software payload, it required a John Deere technician to come to that vehicle, and they charged $500 for that. Control of the repair process post-sale is our issue. I understand that John Deere has made an announcement last week on Monday, Ag Week, that said that sometime in the future, maybe in 2023, that they will solve this problem with the customer service level service advisor. They've made promises like that before. We hope that what we can do in this particular legislation is put it into writing, into legislation, so that they actually keep their promise. Questions?
Questions of the witness? Seeing none, thank you. Remember your witness form. Further testimony in favor of Senate Bill 1086.
Good morning, Mr. Chairman and committee. My name is Emily Leroy, here on behalf of Missouri Farm Bureau today. We know that farmers and ranchers are more dependent on technology than ever before, and when their equipment breaks down, we need access to quick and affordable repair options. Our members have adopted policy which states we support farmers, independent repair shops, and aftermarket parts stores having access to manuals and diagnostic tools which are needed for repair of farm equipment. So there's going to be a lot of conversation today, and there's a lot of conversation across the country about this topic. It really is broader than just farm equipment, but that is where our interest lies. There are conversations about private sector solutions, which would bring national consistency, which of course we would be supportive of. But absent that, we need a legislative fix for this to bring timely service and affordable repairs to our farmers. With that, happy to take any questions.
Thanks, Emily, for your testimony. Any questions of the witness? Seeing none, thank you. Further testimony in favor of Senate Bill 1086.
Hi, I'm back. So I'm here to discuss, of course, in support, based off of Environment Missouri's
For the record, state your name, please.
Oh, I'm sorry, Bridget Sanderson.
Thank you.
I'm here with Environment Missouri and the Missouri Public Interest Research Group. I'm going to make this really fast. I would like, of course, to thank the senator for introducing this bill. And since I said earlier that I'm a scientist, I'm a numbers person. Jared had discussed a little bit earlier about the consolidation, as well as the senator up front, about the consolidation issue with John Deere. And so we don't have John Deere dealerships on every corner of Missouri. So we basically, my group, released a report that I can email to the committee because it's pretty lengthy, called The Deer in the Headlights. And it basically paints a picture of how farmers have to look for the proverbial dealership the needle in the haystack. And so just really quick, in Missouri, there is only one John Deere dealership chain for every 13,571 farms and every 3.9 million acres. And so as we have, supply chain issues and farming coming up, this is going to be a real problem, and I think that this needs to be a legislative effort for us to protect our farmers. Thank you.
Thank you. Questions of the witness? Seeing none, thank you. And remember your witness form. Further testimony in favor of Senate Bill 1086. Testimony in opposition to Senate Bill 1086.
Good morning. Thank you, Mr. Chairman, committee. If I seem a little nervous, I don't do this for a living, so I'm sorry. My name's Gary Sirens, and I'm a Division Customer Support Manager for John Deere. I have responsibility for Missouri, Illinois, Indiana, Arkansas, and Michigan, as well as some portions of Tennessee, Ohio, Wisconsin, and Kansas, customer support for agriculture and turf care products. I'm also a fourth-generation farmer myself, producing corn, soybeans, cattle, and hogs. And my wife and I are raising our children to potentially become the fifth generation to work the land. At John Deere, we take a lot of pride in supporting our customers and dealers. John Deere does not succeed if farmers and contractors do not succeed. Today, the committee will hear from 2 John Deere dealers, and they, along with a third dealer here in the audience, are all available to answer any questions about their unique independent business operations. We are thankful to work with 63 John Deere dealers across the state of Missouri. We do support our customers' ability to repair their machines. As farmers will tell you, uptime is critical when raising crops and tending to livestock. Contractors often face deadlines and are at the mercy of the weather to meet them. I have and continue to live a life where farming is far more than planting or harvesting a crop and simply tending to livestock. A life where 1 minute you're the mechanic or the plumber, and the next minute you're the veterinarian or carpenter. Today, without the passage of Senate Bill 1086, expansive offerings of necessary repair procedures are already available on the market. Both ag and construction industries are highly competitive, and customers have choices as to when and who services their equipment. Very little in the way of repair is confined to the authorized dealer network. While each John Deere equipment dealer's business model and client base is unique, many dealers report that more than 50% of the parts are sold over the counter to the customers of third-party repair providers who are accomplishing repairs outside of the authorized dealer network. The information that's restricted to access to software, the information that is restricted relates to access to software that protects environmental and safety features. It's important to recognize that John Deere makes all necessary repair materials and tools available to the market today. Customers have access to thousands of parts for all makes and models of John Deere equipment. Customers have access to manuals including operational parts, technical, and precision. In fact, we also make operators' manuals available for download at Deere.com for free.
Oh, sweet
Customers
mercy.
have access to diagnostic trouble codes both while in the seat and remotely, because operations don't only happen when the job site or on the job site or in the field. Customers have access to mobile applications to assist with monitoring and diagnosing equipment as well. Since 2017, we have provided an electronic diagnostic service tool called Customer Service Advisor to customers and independent repair shops. This tool enables them to maintain, diagnose, and repair their equipment. As you may have heard, we also announced on March 21st that beginning in May, we'll offer Customer Service Advisor to customers in the independent repair shops to purchase through Deere.com in the United States.
Oh, sweet mercy.
Continuing to offer that through our John Deere dealer network. Furthermore, enhancements to customer capabilities in 2023 will include the ability to remotely download secure software updates onto embedded controllers. I began my testimony telling you that John Deere supports a customer's right to repair. What we do not support is a customer's right to modify equipment. There are 5 key reasons in which we oppose that. The first of which is regulatory compliance, such as the federal emissions requirements established by the Clean Air Act. The second would be safety and operation. The third, reliability and durability. The fourth, security of our customers' operational data over the internet and cell phone network. And the fifth is equipment value and safety to future owners. Leaving future equipment owners vulnerable for machine failure, safety incidents, and uncertainty in the used market when a machine is not operating as it was designed. In summary, the industry has already responded to make parts and tools available. Every John Deere dealer can provide customers and independent repair shops with tools to repair their own equipment, and we don't need legislation for this issue and would ask for your no vote today. Thank you, and I'll answer any questions.
I have a question first. Question, you mentioned a reason you don't support this bill being regulatory issues, the EPA and so on. I drive a Ford F-150. If I, cut a hole in the exhaust, that wouldn't be Ford Motors' responsibility or liability, or or is it, or is it?
So I think that's an accurate assumption. If you cut a hole in the exhaust,
Yeah.
that's probably not Ford Motor Company's problem. The reality of it is when you start modifying the embedded code, it is extremely difficult to know who or what has changed it, right? So what has changed in the code? It's not visible to the shop. It's not visible to the next consumer. Therefore,
Well, if the
Or it could be-
farmers bought the tractor and they own the tractor, why shouldn't they be able to modify their code?
so from a modification standpoint, modifications have happened for years, right?
Yeah.
The difference here is these modifications are not visible to the next user or not visible to the innocent bystander that may be impacted by the change, right? If you added an extension on a lever in yesteryear, that was pretty obvious that it changed, right?
Right.
Or if you put bigger tires on something, that's
Right.
pretty obvious. When you change the embedded code, it's not obvious to the innocent bystander or the next producer or buyer.
Okay.
Does that make sense?
Yeah. So, yeah. Well, no, I appreciate your answer. Senator Bean?
If I can maybe help a little bit with that, maybe your question. So like on a dirt tractor, if you raise the horsepower and put a lot of extra, let's say, pressure on an axle or something, you may not see it as you, the owner, but you sell it. You may see that later on where you've, too higher horsepower, might have put too much pressure on that axle and you break an axle. Just trying to help you there. That wasn't my question. I was just trying to help you out there.
That's correct.
So here's a quick question for you. I know John Deere's apparently made an announcement. What about availability of a laptop to the producer? Is that in the works? Is that available now? Can you talk to that? I know Case IH has got some availability to that for us. Can you speak on that?
So the way we do customer service advisor from a John Deere perspective is the software is currently sold through the dealer. Eventually will be sold through the online store as well. The laptop is something that the producer would typically provide because we do not restrict that to a particular type of laptop, albeit it has to have a certain set of specs to be able to run the software. But we don't restrict that or include the laptop with that purchase.
Some of the frustrating parts that I've had is, as farmers, we'll run all night. And, to have lack of access to that customer advisor when it's midnight and you've got a sensor down is a little frustrating. I know on our cotton picker, baler picker, we've got over 300 sensors on that machine. And, techs aren't available at night sometimes. So having that laptop and that availability to be able to pinpoint where that sensor is and we be able to either deal with it, whether it's a piece of cotton, a piece of dirt, or just change out that sensor is definitely something that could go a long way, in my opinion. I was just wondering where you were in that process.
Yep. If a customer has already made the purchase of customer service advisor, that would all be available to them on their own laptop. Does that make sense?
That makes sense.
Further questions? Senator Burleson.
So, I'm trying to. If I take this laptop and that Dell that I bought from IBM or Dell, whatever, and I reformat it and put in new code, I bought it. I can do that. Is there anything that prohibits someone from doing that with your tractors? Can they upload new code?
So I think if they are tech savvy and have figured out a way, yes.
Okay, so they could, and that you don't have anything that prohibits that.
No.
You probably wouldn't support it once they did.
We would not support it if they changed it. That's correct.
Okay, so what we're getting into is, I guess, but if I went to Dell and said, to IBM and said, I want to, or Windows and said, I want to change your code, give me your source code, so I can make changes to it.
They would probably not.
They
let
would
you do
probably
that.
not.
I don't
right.
know Dell's
Okay.
business model, but
Okay, let me I want to be clear because there's a lot of confusion. Do you have anything where you're saying you can only repair this at a John Deere location?
so the way the reprogramming works, right? we only allow that software to pass through the John Deere dealer at this point in time. We can remotely push payloads to the machine, and long-term, that announcement, right, the 2023 time frame, will give the customer the ability to say, let's do this via their phone and push that remotely to them.
Okay. Is there anything else that you can only get repaired at the dealership?
To my knowledge, no, sir.
So all of the other services, everything else you can take to an independent location?
If they are adequately trained, equipped, right, purchase what they need to do that repair, yes, for sure.
Okay. And so are you concerned about the intellectual property of the software, making sure that no one steals it or hacks it or tries to take it and apply it to your competition or to China or something else?
I would very much concerned about the intellectual property, and additionally that information being modified or changed, correct?
Okay, thank you.
Further questions? Seeing none, thank you. Remember your witness form.
Thank you.
Further testimony in opposition to Senate Bill 1086.
Good morning, Mr. Chair, members of the committee. Thanks for the opportunity to speak today. My name is Craig Murray. I represent Heritage Tractor. We have 13 stores in Missouri, employ about 300 people. That includes about 200 in parts and service combined. I'm here to talk about why Heritage Tractor supports customers' right to repair and opposes SB 1086. I'm going to try not to repeat what Mr. Sirens just communicated. Number one, Heritage Tractor supports customers' right to repair. There are no restrictions for any customer, including independent repair shops, to purchase any part or tool from Heritage Tractor. No restrictions. 2 out of every 3 parts we sell, which is about 200,000 individual transactions, are to customers to make repairs themselves. 2 out of every 3 parts we sell are for customers to make repairs to their own machines. Several of our top 10 customers are in fact independent repair shops. I want to talk briefly about tech manuals. Tech manuals, we provide tech manuals. John Deere provides tech manuals. Tech manuals are used by John Deere trainers, service trainers, to create the training that they provide to our technicians so that our technicians can properly diagnose and repair machines. Those tech manuals, every single one of them, is available to customers and have been for a long time. In 2 years of previous testimony on the similar House Bill 2402, not one person has testified and provided an example of a repair they were trying to make on their equipment that could not be made with what is available today in the market. Not one. This includes the House Bill sponsor, whose repair example can easily be made with what is already available in the market. Heritage Tractors invested millions of dollars in the state of Missouri so customers can make their own repairs. We've recently increased our parts inventory by 50%. That's a multi-million-dollar investment, and it provides Missouri customers access to one of the largest parts inventories in the USA and helps them make their repairs faster. One of the things in the bill that we oppose particularly, in addition to what Mr. Sirens noted, is agricultural equipment dealers or heavy equipment dealers will be required to sell parts at cost. Employee wages, health care benefits, 401k benefits are paid for from margin dollars created by part sales. Absent these margin dollars, dealers would be forced to cut good-paying jobs, reduce benefits as a result of this requirement. Additionally, dealers could not invest in parts inventories at the level we do today, resulting in lower inventories, reduced parts availability, higher customer freight costs, longer customer parts delivery times, and ultimately higher costs for customers on repairs they make themselves. Dealers in the automotive, truck, RV, boat, motorcycle, ATV, seed corn dealers, fertilizer dealers, ag chemical dealers are not forced to sell goods at cost. Singling out heavy equipment dealers seems unjustifiable. It seems unexplainable. A yes vote on SB 26 is a vote to kill solid, good-paying jobs all across Missouri. A yes vote will increase customer repair costs and wait times while reducing state tax revenues. We respectfully ask you to vote no on SB 26. Thank you for my time to speak.
Questions of the witness. Senator Bean.
Good morning, sir.
Good
How are
morning.
you? How many dealerships do you all have?
21.
21. So I'm going to take an example here of an 8335R. And let's say that you've got a right-hand controller screen or whatever that goes bad. Do you have that in stock?
We probably do. I mean, I don't want to say for sure if we do or not. I just don't know.
Let's say if you don't have that screen in stock, how long would it take to get it to me?
We can get it to you overnight.
Okay. And you know, I see both good and bad in all of this bill, and that's one thing that I will say is I had a machine out of Germany that I ran. I ran a couple machines out of Germany, and Parts Depot in Indiana, Parts Depot in Germany. One of the most frustrating things I had is when I'd have a part go down, they promised me 24 hours, and that 24 hours would turn into 48, 96, whatever. I mean, it could be down for a while. So that's something that I think as a farmer is so important to me, is having that parts availability in that dealer network that somehow we've got to make sure that we always have in place. But at the same time, like I've said, on simple repairs, I know that you all, let me guess, have you got tech openings right now?
Yes, we do.
You know, I know techs are getting fewer and fewer, far
Yes.
between. So, in simple repairs, it's very important for farmers, I think, to be able to do that. And,
Yep.
But there are times I'm glad to see that tech pull up. And
Thank you.
no, I get frustrated because I know how much a service truck costs today, and I know how much you're having to pay those techs. And once again, everything's going up. So,
Yeah. Having adequate parts inventories and availability is one of the pillars of our business. And like I said, we have one of the largest parts inventories in America, and we've invested millions and millions of dollars to do that.
thank you.
Thank you.
Further questions of the witness? Seeing none, thank you. Remember your witness form. Further testimony in opposition to Senate Bill 1086.
Mr. Chairman, members of the committee, Ray McCarty, President of Associated Industries of Missouri. We're here in opposition to this bill. There are several things I'm going to cover that previous witnesses did not. First of all, the disclosure of intellectual property. We really kind of look at this as a government taking because the bill requires disclosure of the source code to be able to modify and then reset a piece of equipment. And this has a couple of ramifications besides just having to disclose that intellectual property. One is the risk of hacking or unauthorized access, as well as impact to a future owner of that same piece of equipment. So in your example, Senator, if someone wants to change their equipment and modify it, that's their business. But if they're able to reset it where it looks like that never happened, then trade it in at a dealership and a secondary consumer comes along, then it's more like an odometer rollback where, pardon me, a piece of equipment could be modified to run beyond its safe limits, and then a secondary consumer comes along and doesn't know that, buys it thinking that it has a certain number of hours on it when actually it's been run a lot harder. This can have safety implications as well as just reliability and value implications, which could lead to litigation against manufacturers and dealers from consumers that are hurt or harmed by the fact that the previous equipment owner had modified the equipment. The other thing is the government price fixing for the parts and the software. This bill provides that those things must be made available at cost or at something that is determined to be reasonable by the government. Fixing prices is not something we think the government should be into. And then finally then the safety implications have actually already happened. We are aware of a piece of heavy equipment actually that was modified so that a lever, when a person pulled it thinking that it would turn the equipment right, it actually turned the equipment left, ripped off an arm, and killed a person because that piece of equipment had been modified by someone who didn't know what they were doing. And with that, I'm happy to answer any questions.
Thanks, Ray. Of course, modification is a defense against product liability claims.
If you know that it's happened.
If you know that it's happened. So, at a certain point, any piece of intellectual property, subject to a patent, goes off patent, and then essentially what in the pharmaceutical industry we call generics can be made, in auto industry aftermarket parts. So I would imagine for older tractors, I used to own a Massey Ferguson 85. Older tractors, of course, you have these aftermarket parts. So it seems to me a lot of this, and as long as John Deere still owns an active patent, you can't make aftermarket parts. That's just intellectual property laws. So I think a lot of this does surround the intellectual property surrounding the software.
Right. That's our concern, is mainly with the software, and having to disclose that so that a third party then can modify something and then reset it so it looks like it never happened.
Right, and I agree with you too. This issue of reasonable cost, the government defining what the right price is. Okay, all right. Thank you for your testimony. Questions of the witness? Seeing none, thank you. Remember your witness form. Further testimony in opposition to Senate Bill 1086.
Good morning, Mr. Chairman and committee. I'll be brief. I'm here representing Murphy Tractor. We're a John Deere construction and forestry dealer, and in essence of time saving, just stating that we are serving 31 branches in 6 states and 737 employees, and 113 of those work and live in Missouri at our branches. So we are fully aligned with a lot of the bullet points that were brought up earlier. We are just here to state our opposition to this bill, and along with a lot of the same issues that were brought up earlier. So,
questions of the witness? Seeing none, thank you. Remember your witness form. Further testimony in opposition to Senate Bill 1086.
Mr. Chairman, members of the committee, Ben Travelis with Missouri Corn Growers Association would like to go on record in opposition to this legislation. We have 14 corn farmer board members elected by their farmer peers across the state of Missouri, and we have had many conversations about this topic. And at the end of the day, we ultimately believe in a farmer's right to repair, but not right to modify, which is what we feel that this bill would do as currently written. So for that reason, we felt the best move was to pump the brakes, make sure that we're not unintentionally harming farmers in the long run. So with that, we'd love to answer any questions.
Thank you, Ben. Any questions of the witness? Seeing none, thank you. Further testimony in opposition.
Kara Korches on behalf of the Missouri Chamber of Commerce and Industry also would like to go on the record in opposition, and our position is really predicated on longstanding policy that we have to protect intellectual property and proprietary technology. Can take any questions that you may have. Thank you.
Thank you, Kara. Questions of the witness? Seeing none. Further testimony in opposition to Senate Bill 1086. Any testimony for informational purposes only? Senator Sirpoy, any concluding remarks?
No, thank you. You can adjourn.
Thank you. Thank you. This concludes the hearing for Senate Bill 1086. I'd entertain a motion to adjourn. So moved, seconded. We are adjourned.